Today is January the 19th, 2021, and the Lawrence Board of Zoning Appeals is called to order at this time. I'm going to take a roll call attendance by just say here after I say your name for the record, please. Board members Becky Lytle.
Here.
Tom Crouch.
Here.
U.S. President who
Stephen Hall.
during the campaign. He will facilitate
Eugene West.
and modernize migration process.
Desmond Woods.
American society, recent events coming.
Here.
Amber Denny.
Here.
Staff present, I show myself, Renee Raffala, Dan Zerner. Dan, are you here?
I am, thank you.
Sri. And Catherine Turner.
Here.
Council members present, Tom Shevlot.
Yep.
And Maria Rustemeroff.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, do we have any other council members that I may have missed? I'm looking and I'm not seeing any, so let's go. Next order of business is the election of officers. We'll need a motion for the president and then a second, and then we'll do a roll call vote. Do we have a motion for a president of the board?
Tom, I think you're muted. Renee, I'll nominate Becky Lytle as president.
Thank you, Stephen.
And I will second that.
Okay, and by roll call vote, Becky Lytle?
Yay.
Nay? Is that what you said?
Yay.
Yay. Okay, Tom Crouch?
Yes.
Stephen Hall?
Yes.
Eugene West?
Yes.
And Desmond Woods?
Yes.
Okay, now we'll need a motion and a second for the vice president of the board.
I nominate Tom Crouch.
I second.
Okay, and by roll call vote, Becky Lytle?
Yay.
Tom Crouch?
Yay.
Stephen Hall?
Yay.
Eugene West?
Yay.
Desmond Woods?
Yay.
Okay, so we have our president and our vice president appointed. Next motion or next item on the agenda is going to be the approval of minutes from October 20th, 2020. Again, we'll need a motion and a second, please.
Also move. This is Tom.
I'll second that.
And by roll call vote, please. Becky Lytle?
Yay.
Tom Crouch?
Yay.
Stephen Hall?
Yay.
Eugene West?
Yes.
Desmond Woods?
Yay.
Okay.
Okay, Renee, I do have it pulled up, so you can
Okay.
continue once the meeting starts, when we start doing the variances.
Okay. Do we have any special requests, continuances, withdrawals, or waivers for tonight's hearing? Hearing none, we'll move into old business.
We need to swear, how are we doing the swearing of people for,
Oh, yes. Do you want to, I'll go ahead and do that. Sorry, I forgot that step.
that's okay.
If you have not done so, anyone wishing to speak tonight, let's go ahead and stand and raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth? Please answer with I do.
I do.
We do.
Okay, now we can move on to old business.
Yes. Okay, before we get,
I was getting ready to say, before we get started, do you want to go over the rules?
I'll let you go over the rules. I just wanted to, what I wanted to do is welcome our new board member, Amber Denny.
Hi,
Welcome
Amber.
aboard.
Hi,
Hey,
everyone.
Amber.
Thank you.
Welcome, Amber.
Okay, Renee,
just-
go ahead and read the rules.
Okay, the order of the meeting will be as follows. The petitioner will have 10 minutes to present their case. Then we will hear from the remonstrators, anyone for or against the petition. They have a combined 10 minutes. So If there's 10 people out there that are against the petition, we suggest that you get together and designate a speaker or 2 or 3 so that you stay within that 10-minute time frame. Then we'll hear from the City of Lawrence. Our Economic Director is here, Dan Zuner, and then I will read any emails or anything that I received from any residents. The petitioner will then have 5 minutes of rebuttal. Remonstrators will have 5 minutes of rebuttal, and then the vote will be called.
Renee,
Yes.
can you clarify when and where council?
Council members get to speak after the petitioner and before the remonstrators.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Back to you, Becky.
At this time, we will be looking at old business 20 LUV 13 7551 Oakland Road, a variance of use to allow a C1 use in an SU1 district. And it's Moxie Management LLC has requested the variance. The proposed improvement will include office and business spaces for studio recording and live broadcasting, as well as outdoor sports fields solely intended for the private use of the employees and guests. The Pat McAfee Foundation offices will also be on site, a 501c organization which provides for scholarships to military children. Anybody here for this variance?
I am. I believe is now is when I'm supposed to speak. Thank you so much for the time here. This is awesome. I've never been a part of something like this, watching the voting and everything like that. Congrats, Madam President. And thank you so much. Just let me know when you need me to do what here. And I'm excited to hopefully move into the neighborhood with my entire life as opposed to just my personal life.
This is the time you get 10 minutes to state your case.
Okay, so here we go. Thank you so much for the time. I live at 11055 East 75th Street there. And as soon as I moved into the neighborhood, I quickly realized how much I love the area. I became a member at Old Oakland Golf Club. They still take money out of my account every single month, and I don't golf. I just strictly did that because I realized that there was a new owner, and I wanted it to be a nice golf course and kind of make the neighborhood even better somehow. I eat at Lincoln Square. I get my scratch-offs at BP. The Walgreens is literally something that keeps me alive every single night. I had no idea that the opportunity to move the foundation and my day-to-day business to a place that is less than a mile down the road from me was ever going to be available until I saw the for sale sign on the church. And I, like everybody else, I think in the neighborhood, love the property. I think it's an incredible space. I like the neighborhood. And since retiring from kicking balls for a living, what I've done is I've created a business and a company that creates online internet content, basically. The hub of it is a daily 3-hour show where we are live on YouTube. Today we had 60,000 concurrent viewers, 340,000 live viewers through the entire show. And then also on Sirius XM, Channel 82, Mad Dog Sports Radio as a simulcast. And that's basically the hub of our entire business. We sell advertisements. We operate just like any network television or radio station does, but we just so happen to own the platform ourselves. And in this business, there's been a lot of companies that have tried to get me to move to New York, Florida, Los Angeles. And I've always taken a lot of pride in the fact that with the internet, it doesn't matter where you're at, it's just whether or not you can reach people. We've been able to be a Hoosier operation. We've been able to become one of the largest daily shows on earth, all the while operating from downtown Indianapolis. We are very thankful for our space we have down here. It's 10,000 square feet. We have a basketball court in here. The home to my Pat McAfee Foundation's home is upstairs on a little bit of a balcony here, in which my dad is the executive director of. He volunteers his time, as does everybody that works with the foundation. And then the studio's in the back. This space being so close to my home, me loving the area, and the amount of time that we spend within our office, it just seemed like a natural fit. I will say I had no idea about the processes of changing the zoning. I did not expect to have to take up time in a meeting like this that is very important. I did not to be completely transparent, I did not know about all this. So the opportunity to become a C1 zone over there from what it has been used for a long time as a church, I would be very thankful for, be very grateful for. And we are not trying to add any commotion to the neighborhood. We are just strictly trying to create something great out of Lawrence. With the outdoor property being transformed into whether we put a couple basketball hoops up in a parking lot or maybe a field in the field to play some football workouts, that will not be open. That will not be something that we are inviting people from other parts of the city to come play. That is strictly for our employees, our mental health, our physical health. We enjoy working out. Cardio-wise, I hate running, okay? My knees don't like running, but for some reason, if I play basketball, it's not bad. I also am a professional wrestler, so I have to stay in shape. So anything that has been brought up or mentioned about being outside of the building that I can completely understand some neighbors might think could be a problem into their everyday lives, I promise you it is not meant for any type of purpose that would interfere with anything. Our business does not completely depend upon the amount of people that we get to the property. To be completely honest, our business is people staying off of our property. I just want to kind of make the place as nice as possible, call it home for a long time, and hopefully create a show out of Lawrence, Indiana that isn't live PD, but is actually something that's absolutely amazing. And I appreciate all of your time here. I'm joined alongside our CFO. His name's Phil. He's been my best friend since kindergarten. He was my accountant. Now he's the CFO of the company and of our foundation. So we're open for all questions and excited to hopefully get this thing done and hopefully be something that can add to the community, which is what we ultimately want to do.
Thank you very much. At this time, does the board have any questions?
This is Tom. I have a question. Is this going to be owned for the not-for-profit, or is it a taxable entity that's going to own the building?
Okay, so I do believe the commercial one is the business as well. So it will be a taxable entity, but it will be home for the 501c3, which is the Pat McAfee Foundation. It is currently in our office now, and it will be in our office there. For those that don't know about the Pat McAfee Foundation, we provide scholarships for children of military families. It's not for their education, it's for comfort funds, things that maybe if they are in a military scholarship ride, books, things that are happening outside of the classroom. And we've given over $350,000 to date in scholarships. It's all volunteer run. 100% of the money that has come into the foundation has gone out for scholarships. It'll be the home there. My father is the executive director, but he is an employee of Moxie Media and Pat McAfee Inc., which is the Pat McAfee Show.
Thank you.
How many employees will you have there on property?
We have 12. We have 12 employees. We have people that have moved to the area from Pittsburgh. We have people that have moved to the area from Michigan, Illinois, Iowa, and we have numerous Indiana locals as well. And we've also had a lot of people actually move into the neighborhood directly across from the church because of the hope for the business to be able to move up there. So we're a small business, and we just kind of go about, do our work, and the goal for everything is for people to have no idea that we're even in there.
Okay, thank you very much. Does the board have any other questions at this time?
Yes, Pat, can you speak to the diversity of your staff?
Okay, so we have a man from New York. We have all men working for us. My wife, though, runs another foundation that is not based out of our office, but it is under our umbrella called Further Brand, in which she has 2 other people that work alongside her. That is a fully female-operated foundation. It's not in our office, but it is something that is under our umbrella. We have a Cuban, a son of Cuban immigrants named Zito. He is straight out of Chicago. He comes down to Indianapolis. He's an all-terrain vehicle for us. He works everything from graphics to on-air personality. We have a man from Brooklyn, New York, who is half Afghanistan, half Puerto Rican. He is our executive producer named Michael Mansuri. He worked at the WWE for 11 years. We also have people from all different parts of the Midwest in Pittsburgh, but that is basically our entire operation there.
Thank you.
Anybody else at this time? Any other board member?
I have no questions.
Okay. At this time, does any counselors, Mr. Chevlot or Maria?
Thank you, Becky. Mr. McAfee is a constituent of mine, and I've been following this pretty closely, and I'm in favor of this for a couple of reasons. One, there's been a lot of misinformation about what this facility will do, and thank you, Pat, for clearing that up. Secondly, this is a property that currently isn't on the tax rolls that will soon be on the tax rolls. And for Mr. McAfee, I'll call him Pat. I don't even know him, but
Yeah, thank you. That's good. Yes.
I know you're a constituent, but for him to be able to look at this community and say, this is where I want to put my business and this is where I want to put the stake of my enterprise and what I do in Lawrence. These are the kinds of things that we're looking for from an economic development perspective. And it doesn't encroach on any neighborhoods. So anyway, just from my perspective, I am hoping that this board looks at this as a huge benefit to Lawrence. It certainly has brought in individuals from outside of Lawrence to move into Lawrence, as he just said. Plus, I also think this gives us a posture where, providing this goes through, that I'm sure on his programs, he will tout the benefit of being able to relocate and be able to do business in Lawrence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chevlot.
You're welcome.
Maria, do you have anything to add? Mayor Collier, would you have any comments?
I don't know if I'm allowed to comment here, Renee, so I certainly am happy to comment if you're given the choice. I would just echo what Councilor Chevlot has already said. I did a lot of my own research into the McAfee Foundation, and certainly, Pat, I've been a hell of a fan of yours for quite some time, so I'm anxious to keep you right here in Lawrence. I would say, what Tom has said, and I would even say that perhaps even to a greater degree, it's these kinds of organizations, if we can locate those in Lawrence, it will certainly put us on the map. And I think the McAfee Foundation certainly is an exceedingly honorable foundation, and Pat has proven himself to be a personality that draws people to your city. And so I think this is really kind of a slam dunk for this organization. I was excited to hear it was going to come in there, and I'm happy to see Pat here tonight to advocate for his organization.
Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, we've heard from all the distinguished elected officials. Now we'll hear from the remonstrators. Is there anyone here for or against the petition?
Hello, my name's Judy Brown. I live at 75th Street, right across from the church. I have a lot of concern. My concerns are the safety. I know you said you're going to keep the people out that shouldn't be in there, but how are you planning on doing that? Are you going to put a fence up there? Also, about the noise. I mean, we all live right across the street. Somebody's out there playing basketball late at night. We can hear all that stuff. Also, the crime. We want to know if that's going to be bringing any kind of crime to our city. The lighting. We want to know what kind of lighting you're going to have out there. Is that going to be the kind of safety? Or is you going to put that on the field where the football complex is supposed to be? We moved out in the country so it would be safe out there, be quiet. We have good neighbors. We love it out there. We've been out there over 20 years, and we don't want to change this. But We want to make sure that once we move out there, that we won't have to move again. But if this turns out to be something that's not what we're saying it is, I don't know if we could stay there or not. We also want to know how long you're planning on staying there. What happens if you decide one day, I don't want to stay here, I'm going to leave? Are you going to sell that land? Are you going to lease it? What are you going to do with the property?
Thank you so much. I completely understand your concerns. So the plan was originally, I was going to fence in the property, but I was going to leave open one parking lot strictly because I grew up on a street that had a church that had a big parking lot, and it was where I learned how to ride my bike at. It was where I think I learned how to drive my dad's stick Subaru Forester in the church parking lot. And when I actually went to look at the property, there was a family riding their bicycle with their child in one of the parking lots. So whenever I actually thought about whether or not we should buy the place, I thought to myself, I would hate if I would be taking that moment away or that space away. So the idea was I was going to fence in the property, except for one parking lot. Now, I did hear from the neighborhood app, because I have not only employees but friends that live in the neighborhood, that there was potential worry about who would come to the parking lot and everything like that. Anything that we have outside, we would be using during the day. It would not be during the night. We would fence in a basketball court if we had it. Lighting, we would not be planning on bringing in any more lighting for that field over there. We operate during the day mostly. Maybe if we had some sort of, whether it was philanthropic event for the foundation, or maybe we had to have more lights in the parking lot or something like that. That is not something that'll happen on a regular basis. And for the longevity of it, I've never even thought about whether I would leave or not. To be honest with you, that has not been a real thing. I've had very, very good offers to leave, and I love my home, and I love, even more specifically, working in Indiana. It actually gives us an edge up on competition because we're not the same as everybody else. If I was to leave, I haven't even thought about that, so I apologize for not having an answer for you there. But just like you, I do not want the area in which we live to become a bad area. To be completely honest, I want to do the opposite. So if fencing the property in and fencing in the basketball court was already on plans, I'd be very open to hear other ideas that you have to potentially keep it as safe as possible.
Okay, well, thank you.
Good evening, folks. Jerry Riley, 7363 Fairway Circle East Drive. For those of you who know me, I was on the Oakland Association for 30 years, Lawrence Township Citizens Councils. We made the city of what it is today before a lot of you even got here. So our main concern is we don't want an attractive nuisance, in the words of metropolitan planning. And that means the lighting, the fencing, if the fencing goes, it should be attractive. And what I'd like to see is some covenants and restrictions ride with this change that guarantees that your fencing, your lighting will stay in place. And if there's a change, that you have to re-notify the neighbors. I have grown up in Lawrence. I was on the Parks Board. You put up basketball goals, people will come, which you have no control over unless you have control of that lot. And unfortunately, even in Lawrence Parks, we've had people get shot, and we had to take down our basketball goals. So that is a concern. We all moved out there for the very reason to have good neighbors, as you said, the golf course. The kindergarten is a C1, and they are not a bother to any of us. But we also would like maybe the hours of operations, the more information, and covenants and restrictions to ride with us before there's any changes. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, obviously, I would like the fence to look good. I very much understand that my name was going to be associated with the building. I would like it to look better than something that could look bad. Would very much completely understand if you guys had an eye nuisance or anything like that, that would be annoying. Our Hours of operation are normally, wrap up around 6 o'clock. That's why I'm doing it from my office still instead of being caught in transit. Normally get in around 9 to 6, 9 to 5 is normally our operating times. And nothing outdoor will be happening other than during the day. I can promise you that. And the fencing for the basketball goals and everything like that, we will make sure that we can control who gets in there and who doesn't, because we don't want it to get spray painted or anything terrible to happen on our property either, because that's not something I would like to be associated with. So I understand all of your potential worries, and I also am on your side there, and I would like to make sure it's as nice as possible, because inevitably my name's going to be associated with it, but I can understand your worries.
Hello, my name is Michael Smothers, and I live across the street at the corner of 75th and Oakland Road. Been there for a little over 20 years. I, like many of my neighbors and constituents, are very proud of that area and what it has become, or we would not have moved there. Mayor Collier, I don't know if you remember me, but you were at my 50-year retirement ceremony in Building 1, and your lovely wife was there also. So let me get down to what I'm saying. First of all, the last scheduled meeting, I was appalled that I came here along with several others, and no one said anything that it was canceled. Now, my time and their time is just as important as your time and everybody on this council. To me, it was a total disrespect. You sent out all this information, and here we want to find out what's going on, and nobody's here. That's over, and I'll let that go. But that turned me off at the very beginning.
Mr. Smothers, I'd like to apologize. The meeting was canceled about 2 hours prior to its scheduled time, and it was posted on our city website, and there was a bulletin in the hallway on the board. So I apologize for any miscommunication.
I can try to accept your apology, but it doesn't do anything for me and my time to drive down here, just like everybody else.
I understand that.
That's all I'm saying, okay? Somebody
completely
could have put a note on the door, meeting canceled.
I appreciate that. The Zoom thing's all new to all of us, so we apologize for that. Did you have any other concerns about the case itself?
Yes, I have many.
That
Let
we
me
can
go ahead and
address?
finish here. First of all, I shouldn't have to come down to see a plan. Why didn't you show it to me or send it to me along with these other documents? I mean, I have to come down here to see what your plan is. And then the people who I'm talking to has no idea of what this means or what that means. So I'm a little concerned about that. Let me go ahead with this. Pat, in all due respect, I know that your intentions are great, but are you buying this, are you leasing it, or are you renting it?
I just want to say thank you for your service, by the way, sir, if I'm reading your hat accurately, and I apologize for this taking into your time. I understand everybody's time is vital. I am buying the property with cash. I feel like that was the best way to go for both parties there, and
Okay.
that is the plan moving forward.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. Let me ask this question. If we change this, or it's approved that it's changed to C1, and you were to, like someone else mentioned, that you were to leave, does that mean it's going to be turned into a gas station? I mean, commercial could be anything. That's my question. Again, can you sell it as an SU1 or a C1? The other question, will it revert back to C1 if you dissolve or cancel anything?
Okay, I can answer those questions for you, sir. We are not rezoning the property tonight. We are simply asking for a variance of the SU9 district to allow a C1 use. The board can make a restriction on that it be to this petitioner only, so that in the future, if the Pat McAfee Foundation were to sell it, it would revert back to the SU special use zoning, and a new petition would have to be heard for anything other than a church to go into it. Sorry.
Okay, so let me understand this correctly. What you just said, or what I think I heard was, if he was to leave, it would revert back to SU1.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir. It's not, we are not changing the zoning tonight. We're not requesting that. We're asking for a variance of use from the SU district to allow a C1 use. And like I said, our board can vote to make that specific to this petitioner only, so nobody else could come in and use it as a C1 use. They would have to notify your neighborhood and have another hearing just like this one.
Okay, well, let me ask this question then. If, Pat, do you have any intentions of subcontracting out any of that space, i.e.
No,
the
sir.
office space on the inside, that other businesses will be involved in the building across the street?
No, sir.
Okay. And I think someone else mentioned it, and my concern was, what about the hours of operation?
9 to 5, basic. Sometimes I'll be walking out at 6. Nothing will be happening outside, though, post 6 o'clock, unless it's a very rare occasion that it won't happen. So the hours of operation, 9 to 5, most days, almost every day, Monday through Friday.
Okay, as far as somebody else mentioned it, and we're concerned about it, and that's physical security. Are you going to have a rent-a-cop, or are you going to have lights, cameras? And as you know, somebody else mentioned, competition on basketball courts or any kind of other competition breeds violence.
Mr. Smothers?
Yes.
Okay, the 10 minutes is up for the remonstrators. I do have one question, sir. I do have one question. Did anybody try to get a hold of the Pat McAfee and go over these concerns prior to coming here? We're not here
Ma'am, I came up here last week or a month ago or whatever to discuss my concerns.
No, I asked you if you called them and tried to talk to get the housing organization together and talk with them.
Did they contact me other than a letter? And it was somewhat official. It wasn't like, hey, Mike. I mean, if he lives down the street from me, knock on my door. I'm right across the street from where he's wanting to get.
If you had concerns, you should have contacted him and set up a meeting.
I should have done everything, ma'am. You're right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll hear from the City of Lawrence.
Excuse me.
Excuse me, does the
one
board
more
have-
thing to say, and that is I'm opposed to this.
Does the board have any questions for the remonstrators?
I do not.
Okay,
No.
we will hear from the City of Lawrence.
Dan, did you want me to read your memo to the board, or did you want to read it?
You can read it.
Okay, so our Economic Development Director, Dan Zerner, has provided a memo which you board members have received regarding this position. It is the city's position that the proposed use would be substantially less invasive on the surrounding neighborhoods in terms of traffic, noise, and proposed use than the former church ever was. Proposed improvements, interior and exterior, should only serve to enhance the appearance and condition of the existing site and grounds. We believe the city and its residents will be best served via the approval of this petition. We also received an email from Councilor Lauren Russell, which I am going to read now. Let me find it real quick here. I have it open. Hello, Renee. Could you please forward this message to the BZA? I did send that to you earlier today. I would like to send a note in support of Moxie Management LLC's request to use the location 7551 Oakland Road, Lawrence, Indiana, 46235 as a business space. After reading in detail to what the space will be used for, I believe that the use of the space will help with the maintenance of the area and will not be a disturbance to the surrounding neighborhoods. This location is on my district, and I also live across the street from the old church. I hate to see it not being used. Thank you for your consideration.
So if I may follow up, and I thank you for that, Becky and Renee. A couple other things I'd like to point out. First of all, Pat McAfee's father, Tim, has been nothing but forthright with the city from the very time they contacted us, has been very straightforward with our questions and concerns. Second of all, I think it's really beneficial to the community to have, and particularly the neighborhoods, to have a private entity that's interested in taking this over, even though the foundation will be a tenant, a family tenant, so to speak, because so many times churches and philanthropic organizations have the right concept and idea and heart, but they don't have the cash and the funds to back up their intentions. And so when you look at the funding available to maintain this property, and anybody in good faith that looks at this property today realizes it's not in good stead like it was perhaps at one point in time. And I think that Pat's intentions are genuine, and we really look forward to having him as a part of the community, and I hope you'll support this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, Becky. I also have a letter that was emailed to me from an Eric Prentice that I'm going to read. The letter reads, "To whom it concerns, my name is Eric Prentice. I live less than a quarter mile east of the property in question on 75th Street and have lived there for over 25 years. I've read Mr. McAfee's proposal and fully support it. I've heard about objections to his use of the site, and I believe those who object are incorrect in their assumption that his foundation has plans to turn the site into a sports complex, a field for kicking a football, an outdoor basketball court, and two three-par golf holes hardly constitutes a sports complex. He also stated they did not plan on holding weekly events. Those of us who live nearby have seen fundraising events held by the past occupants of the church. I see no reason why Mr. McAfee's fundraising events would be any different. The property is certainly large enough to accommodate numerous vehicles and people. Our community has seen several church groups occupy the property over the years. In my opinion, not all church groups today would make great neighbors. If Mr. McAfee is not allowed to purchase the property and make these improvements, who knows what undesirable church group could occupy the property next. The Pat McAfee Foundation was formed to provide scholarship assistance to the sons and daughters of U.S. military personnel. Pat McAfee holds the men and women of our armed forces in high regard, as do I. I strongly support the mission of his foundation and welcome it to our community."
Thank you, Renee.
And that's all I had.
Thank you. We'll hear back again from the petitioner. You'll have a 5-minute rebuttal.
I think I am so incredibly thankful for the kind words from the board and also the email. And I can understand somebody maybe not loving the idea of something they don't fully understand. And Mr. Smothers, I appreciate your intensity to protect the neighborhood that we all live in. I apologize for not coming to you directly and speaking to you. That is 100% on me. I wish we could have talked beforehand, as with the other people who had a lot of questions and concerns. I understand how the thought of an internet business coming into a place where a church once was could be, maybe a little bit difficult to completely grasp, because I am a very new form of business. Our foundation is one that operates, we have events, golf outings and things like that, but a lot of it is internet generating of funds so we can provide for the sons and daughters of military families. I would be incredibly grateful to have the property. I would take care of it immensely to make our neighborhood look even better. And I do believe that all of your worries and questions after maybe the first month or two would definitely dissipate whenever you see how we operate. We are a show I think the neighborhood can be very proud of having. We're putting quite a dent into the sports media space, and the foundation is changing people's lives literally yearly. So I'm thankful for the opportunity. I hope we get a chance to make the old church our home. And if we do, I promise the board and constituents will not regret it.
Thank you, sir. Now we'll hear from the remonstrators with a 5-minute rebuttal.
Hello, my name is Linda Burkett, and the first letter we received said it was a sports complex. That's why there is so much misinformation going on. Okay, that's the first thing. I am wondering, not so much about physical, but are you going to have to put up internet towers and all this kind of stuff? I've never been around a studio before, and that is one of my concerns.
Great question. Sorry for the misunderstanding in the first letter that was sent out, and also apologize for the delay in the meeting for happening today. I wrote the second letter that went out because I thought there was misinformation going out there. We never had the thought of a sports park, although whenever we discussed about putting a basketball court out there and potentially utilizing the field for some type of thing, whether it's during the day, punting, kicking balls for the internet, it got misconstrued. That is a miscommunication. That is 100% on me. I apologize for that whole thing. Now, your second question, I apologize. What was it? The internet. Oh, yes.
Yeah, the internet,
So,
the studios.
there will be no towers that will be built. We have had conversations with internet companies. Fiber will be run to the property, but that, or would be run, we would have to contract. We haven't contracted out because we have all this going on. We just reached out to see if it was possible. That would be something that would be buried on the ground. I think there's already one close. It would just be an extension to the property. So no towers, no ridiculous construction. It's just something that is plugged into the building, basically an extension from one that's already created in the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Renee, is there any time left for the remonstrators?
Yeah, they got just another minute and a half.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you. I would like this variance to run with his organization, and we'd like to see that in writing to where it is strictly a C1 variance from the SU. That way, we want to make sure if he decides to sell and move on, that we would be notified for any other changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. At this time, is the board ready to vote on the variance 20 LUV 13? Any other questions or comments?
No.
Do I have a motion? Do we want to add for this? Someone want to make a motion to make it to this petitioner only?
So moved.
Who made the motion?
It was me, Renee, Steve.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Christina West, second.
Okay, the board is going to vote on 20 LUV 13. This variance will be for the petitioner only, a variance of use to allow a C1 use in a CU1 district. The proposed improvements will include office and business spaces for studio recording and live broadcasting, as well as an outdoor sports field solely intended for the private use of the employees and guests. The Pat McAfee Foundation offices will also be on site as a 501c3 organization, which provides for scholarships to military children.
Before we vote, I have a question.
Yes,
Is
sir.
the petitioner okay with having it only run, Tim? And I thought that was a law anyway, Renee.
It is. We're just doing a variance to a C1 for this use, but it would not hurt to make it a commitment that it's specific to this petitioner, just to
Reinforce
public
it,
happy, reinforce it, yes.
Okay, the petitioner is okay with this?
Petitioner, Pat?
So this is, if I'm getting this right, I'm the only one that can see one. Basically, if I'm looking to move on, there has to be another round of agreement in what can potentially go in there?
Yes.
That's right.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so we're going to do a roll call vote. I need a yes or a no on whether the petition passes with the commitment. Becky Lytle?
Yes.
Tom Crouch?
Yes.
Steve Hall?
Yes.
Eugene West?
Yes.
Desmond Woods?
Yes.
It is unanimous. The petition is passed.
Thank you. The board now will hear new business, 21 LSV 01, 4315 and 4327 Sellers Street, 7608 and 7612 Pendleton Pike, 4230 Hull Street, a variance of development standard of table 744-201-3, dimensional standards for district C1, C2, C4, C5, C7, and C-S, construction of sidewalks in the right-of-way, windows, doors, transparency to redevelop the property and construct a new racetrack fueling station. Anyone here for this petition?
Hello, yes, my name is Chris Holyfield. I'm with Manic Smith Group. John Jansen with Racetrack is also here. Renee, I had a PowerPoint. Am I screen sharing that from my computer?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to pull that up real quick. My apologies. I thought that was going to be run from the...
I can share it if you don't have it up. I've got it right here.
I'm opening it right now, so
okay.
Let me do my screen share.
Those in the public assembly room, we can still hear you. If you could please take it out into the hall unless you're here for this petition. Thank you.
Okay, can I get started?
Give them just a second to exit because it's giving all kinds of background noise, if you don't mind, Chris.
Okay, that's fine. All right.
I think you can go ahead now. Thank you, Chris.
Yep, no problem. Again, my name is Chris Holyfield. I'm with the Manic Smith Group, and John Jansen with a Racetrack is also here. We're asking for some variances as described. This is a project going in off of Pendleton Pike at Sellers, the northeast corner of Sellers and Pendleton Pike. Racetrack's a proposed gas station, and we'll get more into it. But I will let John explain a little bit about Racetrack Company and their overview.
Chris, can you share your screen one more time?
Is it?
Yeah, it's not showing up, Chris. You might have to do a new share and click on that window. There you go.
Okay.
All right. So first, I want to thank the board for your time tonight. I know since we are new to the Hoosier State, I recognize that a lot of members of the board might not be familiar with our operation. I wanted to take a few minutes to give you a quick overview of our company and what we bring to each site. So Racetrack is a family-owned company that's been operating primarily in the South and Southeast since 1934. We're currently the second largest privately held company in the state of Georgia, and we are headquartered in Atlanta, and we run and operate over 560 store locations across 7 different states. Each store employs roughly 20 to 25 corporate employees with advancement opportunities. Our company is consistently voted a top workplace in the markets in which we operate in. Next slide. Back in about 2012, Racetrack opened its first neighborhood market concept, which puts a large emphasis on fresh food and first-in-class architecture. So our stores offer fresh pizza, extensive coffee bar, exterior seating with Wi-Fi, and brick stacked stone facade. As you can see from the store images here in the presentation, this concept meets our goal of creating a different atmosphere than the traditional convenience stores that currently occupy the market right now. Next slide.
If I, John, I think I'm going to take over. If I do if I expand this PowerPoint, does it drop the screen share? Can y'all still see this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My apologies. All right. The variances, again, that we're requesting are the setbacks, the consistent commercial C5 zoning setbacks throughout the property. I'll go into a little bit more detail once we look at the site plan. Sidewalk relief along Sellers, Allen, and a portion of Hull Street. And then a variance to some of the transparency requirements as expressed in the code. Here's a rough, here's our site plan. I don't know if you can see it real well, but it shows the store right here. Pendleton Pike's down along the south, Sellers runs north-south on the west side, Hull Street's on the east, and then Allen is along the top. So the development is taking almost the entire property. The southwest corner is not part of this development. It's I believe it's actually a bank that's being constructed today. This property is zoned C5 on the south, and I believe I3 along the north. And so to make it consistent with the fueling station and the fueling stations generally being in C5 zones, we wanted to maintain the C5 setbacks just throughout the property and not have different setbacks on the north side and the south side. That's one variance request. The second one is regarding the sidewalks along the frontage. There's an existing sidewalk along Pendleton Pike that's going to remain. That's in the NDOT right away. The sidewalks that we're requesting relief from are along Sellers Avenue on our frontage, along Allen Street, and just north of the proposed drive here on Hull. The reason we are requesting relief from constructing these sidewalks is we don't want to, I guess, introduce or have a lot of pedestrian traffic back here due to the nature of this industrial area, a lot of heavy truck traffic. And so we want to try to keep the pedestrian traffic out front along the south of the property.
Chris, this is Dan Zerner. May I interject?
Yes.
So for the BZA members and the public or anybody else that may listen, Sri Van Oakland is on the call with us or on the meeting with us. He is the city's engineer. We have had a series of meetings with the city engineer, the Board of Public Works, the street department. We've all looked at this. Prior to Racetrack coming here along Seller Street, we had already given a variance not to have any sidewalks because 3G is building their new corporate headquarters on the other side of Sellers, and we'll have a tremendous amount of truck traffic going into Sellers and turning left on Allen. Plummer Street's totally being relocated. Both 3G and Mills, and we'll have an extensive amount of truck traffic, as does the new purchaser of the building that escapes me, but it's immediately north of 3G. They're in the vacuum business and have large trucks. So we've already approved a variance for half of Seller Street anyway. And then when you looked at the setbacks and the sidewalks, the diesel truck traffic, We think this is going to be a huge improvement for the city in a number of reasons that I'll speak to after a while, but it made sense from the city's standpoint not to have these features incorporated into the site plan.
Thank you, Dan. And again, so here's the site plan. The next one shows our landscape plan. Not really requesting any variances there, it's just part of our submittal. We're meeting the requirement. We're going to have underground storage as well. The third variance is regarding the transparency, and John, I'm going to let you speak to that.
Sure. So like Chris mentioned, the third variance we wanted to discuss today was in regards to the transparency. For those that might not know, the transparency requirement is to meet 40% transparent glass on your building that has a pedestrian entrance on the facade. So as you can see on our building elevation here, we have a pedestrian entrance on our front and on our left elevation. The front elevation is the bottom elevation. The left is in the top left of this slide. So based on the previous slide, you guys already know that the building we're proposing, or this one in the elevations, has 36% on the front elevation and 19% on the side elevation or the left elevation. Next slide. The current floor plan, so this is the floor plan that we intend to build at this particular location. The current floor plan, like most convenience stores, has bathrooms, cooler doors for cold beverages, back of house for storage and prep space, and all of those areas in most of your traditional convenience stores and even in our neighborhood market trace the majority of the exterior walls. So specifically to the pedestrian entrance on the side entry, you can see here we have bathrooms that occupy the entire right side of the building. Sorry that this floor plan is opposite of the one we're going to put here. This is a right entry and we're doing a left. So earlier on the slide where I said left, it's actually right on this. So I apologize for the confusion here. But as you can see, the bathrooms do occupy that entire that facade. So Racetrack would like, and I'm sure most developers would like, to avoid placing transparent glass in the bathroom area. So we've committed to putting transparency everywhere on that particular facade that is not looking directly into a bathroom for our guest privacy. If this variance is granted here tonight, we can avoid a redesign of our floor plan and ensure that the offers that I spoke about earlier, the fresh food, the coffee bar, the pizza, all those things I can bring to the city of Lawrence, because we don't have to go back to the drawing board and try to meet 40% and move our bathrooms or cooler doors or back of house to another area of the building. So that is one of the major reasons why we would certainly appreciate approval of that variance. Next slide. So I think that concludes our presentation, and we would certainly like to reserve any additional time that we may have to answer any questions that the board will have of us.
At this time, I'd like to tell the board, this is, if you remember last year, Burger King they had purchased this property and was going to build a Burger King there. But since then, that has been sold and bought by Racetrack. Am I not correct?
You are correct.
Okay. So I just want to make the board aware of that. This is going where the Burger King was going to be built back that we approved last year. So at this time.
Thanks for that clarification.
And if I can add in there too, part of the Burger King variance was a reduction in the transparency on the front and sides of the building, and the board approved those transparency requests for the Burger King, just to keep with history on that property and the previous zonings.
And I believe we also approved the sidewalk issues for the bank.
Yes, we did.
Yes. I just want to bring that to board's attention. Does the board at this time have any questions for the petitioner?
Yes, Chris, Eugene West, just one quick question. I'm just curious, what the fuel that racetrack is going to be providing, is there E85 with that or no?
We usually base our product that goes in the ground by the demographics or where we're located. For instance, I know down in Florida we offer E0. Next to lakes, we'll offer E0 as well. E85 is a pretty standard fuel type for most of our convenience stores. If you remember the site plan, the front is where we're trying to isolate the auto traffic. So that's like your everyday driver, me, you, and that is where your E85 will be an option. And then the back is primarily for landscape trucks, box trucks, your FedExes, and then the 18-wheelers as well. And that's where your diesel will be. So to answer your question, yes.
Chris, and
so much like the speedways, yeah.
This is Dan.
Yes, sir.
Gene's obviously interested in sustainability. You might mention to him, if I'm correct, you are preparing the conduit underground for this for vehicle charging in the future, correct?
That is correct. So as we all know, as cars become more efficient, the gallons are just going down, which is why a lot of your fuel retailers are putting a large focus on inside. What does food look like? Are you keeping up with the Joneses as far as your inside sales go? To Dan's point, we are also putting conduit in the ground for the change that's ultimately coming. I don't know if it's going to be 15, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, but we all know that EV charging cars or electric vehicles are going to dominate the market at some point. So we are preparing for that switch. And we are proactively running conduit on our locations to easily change the fueling dispensers over to some form of, EV charging station.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? None being asked, I will ask if there's any remonstrators. Excuse me, any council people like to speak at this time? Mayor?
No, I don't have anything to add. I'm certainly supportive of the project.
Okay. Council?
This is Councilor Rusamaroff. I am always concerned when we have variances for sidewalks, but they've answered all my questions, so I thank them for that.
Thank you. Mr. Chevlot? Okay.
Take off the share screen, please. Thank you.
Okay, are there any remonstrators for this petition? No remonstrators. We'll hear from the City of Lawrence.
I prepared a statement for Renee, but I think I'll forgo that for the moment and just tell you from my heart what I see on behalf of the city. First of all, I want to thank Sri and all the Department of Public Works officials and utilities. We've all been extensively over this project because we have concerns anytime we go to put another fueling station in our city. But I view this project to be far more than a fueling station. This is kind of a speedway or a pilot on steroids. We're not used to this quality of an operation and its appearance in our city. And one of the things we're doing at this particular intersection is investing millions of dollars, both publicly and privately. Right now, the city is investing all of its new stormwater upgrades in this city. You're going to see Freegee put its new corporate headquarters on the block immediately west of this, next to 465. We're looking at this to become the new gateway for our city, and we believe the vibrance and the color and the design of this facility will add real credibility to that intersection. We also believe that they'll be a good taxpayer and a good corporate citizen. So I highly encourage from the Department of Economic Development the approval of this project and can endorse it personally and wholeheartedly.
Thank you, sir. We will hear from the petitioner with a 5-minute rebuttal, please.
Nothing more to add on our end. We just wanted to thank you guys again for your time, and we certainly appreciate the kind words and all the support that we've been given from the City of Lawrence. Everyone's been very willing to help in every meeting and every email that we've sent to date, so we certainly appreciate that. And with that, I guess I'll give you back the rest of my time.
Thank you. Any remonstrators? Does the board have any questions for the petitioner?
No.
Then the board will be ready to vote on 21 LSV01, 4315 and 4327 Cellar Street, 7608, 7612 Pendleton Pike, 4230 Hull Street, variance of development standard of table 743-201-3, dimensional standards for district C1, C2, C4, C5, C7, and C-S, table 744-201-6, dimensional standards for district I1 through I4 and table 744-302-F, construction of sidewalks of the right-of-way, table 742-04-E-4A, window doors transparency to redevelop the property and construct a new racetrack fueling station. Renee?
We'll do a roll call vote. Please say yes or no. Becky Lytle?
Yes.
Tom Crouch?
Yes.
Stephen Hall?
Yes.
Eugene West?
Yes.
Desmond Woods?
Yes.
Okay, we have a unanimous vote.
Thank you.
Welcome to Lawrence.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now the board will hear variance 21 LUSV-02, 8932 East 42nd Street, a variance of use and development standard of table 743-1 to provide for a self-storage facility without the required 50-foot landscape buffer on the north side and west side of the property. Anyone here for that petition?
Yes, there are several of us here.
Okay.
Chairperson Lytle, Joe Calderon, 11 South Meridian, Indianapolis, 46204. Dan Penn, Aiden Penn are here on behalf of the ownership, and Arnie Macy, the actual developer of the proposed project, is also here and online. Renee, would you be kind enough to pull up the PowerPoint for me?
Absolutely, Joe. Give me 1 second. I have it here. It'll take it a second because I'm working on my 5, so it's loading though.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate the time this evening. My client is deeply invested in the city of Lawrence, having recently, within the last few years, purchased the apartment complex that adjoins the subject property. We'll get into that in a minute. But he's not just coming in for the first time. He's been collaborative and cooperative and is truly interested in improving 42nd Street near Post Road. Thank you. You can go to the next slide, please. I don't know if I can or can't. So as Renee mentioned, the property is zoned MU2, which is a mixed-use zoning district. So we do need a variance to allow for a self-storage facility. Combined with that, with the 2016 new zoning code, there was a 50-foot setback and buffer yard requirement for all self-storage facilities. We are providing some setback and landscaping around the perimeter, but it's 10 feet, which is what you would normally find in the MU2 zoning district. Next slide. As mentioned, Gated Properties 10, which is owned by Dan Penn, he purchased this property in order to really protect his investment following his purchase and subsequent renovation of the Maison Garden Apartments, which adjoin to the north and west. This parcel is only 3 acres, so it's not a super large site, although it did have apartments that were significantly obsolete and in not a very good state of repair when purchased. Those apartments were subsequently demolished in 2019 by Mr. Penn. Next slide. Here's a series of pictures of what the property looked like before. This is an aerial view of the apartments of 8932. Next slide. And here's some shots that were taken by the demo contractor. Clearly you can see kind of the obsolete nature of the apartments. Next slide. Another photo, next slide. You can kind of see how old these buildings were, state of vacancy, just were not very attractive or functional. Next slide. Again, indications of disrepair and just neglect by the previous owner. Next slide. This kind of shows what things were looking like as they were undergoing demolition. Next slide. So this is what you have today, and that's kind of a clean slate. This is the aerial view. Next slide. And this is another view looking back to the south across 42nd. So we have a clean slate to work with. After Mr. Penn's acquisition of the property and zoning to MU2, we marketed it for mixed use or for commercial. He had no luck with that. Next slide. Mixed use typically contemplates, doesn't have to be this way, but it typically contemplates some sort of commercial activity on the street level or ground floor, most typically with multifamily above. This, even though the zoning is relatively recent, the fact that it is off the corner by 2 properties never really gained any traction for commercial viability or commercial interest. Certainly with all of the inventory of apartments in and around the area, that really wasn't a very viable use, nor desirable use either. Next slide, please. Here you can kind of see the zoning map where you have the commercial that adjoins the MU2 property that we're speaking of to the east. The D8 is multifamily, D4 is single family to the south, and then a tremendous amount of D7, and then some special use property sprinkled that are close by. The Maison Garden Apartments are the D8 property that kind of surround the site to the north and the west. Next slide. Self-storage, there are a lot of people that have feelings about it. It has been very popular following going back to the 2008 recession, because a lot of people lost or downsized homes. There's been a lot of folks that have chosen apartments or smaller homes that kind of drives the demand for self-storage. This particular location being very close to a lot of apartments is a very strategic use from a location standpoint. You can also fit self-storage on smaller parcels. This will not generate significant traffic. The projections are 30 to 35 visits per day. That's also very good for the tax base. This property will have improvements removed, so it will only be taxed on undeveloped land area, which will not generate very much money. Following this investment, Mr. Macy projects property tax impact from $75,000 to $100,000 annually. Really very little government services are needed for these types of facilities. Next slide. We created a plan of operation, which we'll read into the record. The hours are 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday. Customer access is limited. It's not 24/7. It's 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. There will be an on-site manager Monday through Saturday during those business hours. The facility will also be secured, fence-gated, multiple cameras. Next slide. This is probably what you really care about. Go to the next one, Renee, and we'll get right to the kind of the renderings. This is overall view, kind of looking back to the north and northwest perspective from 42nd Street on the south. You can see there will be perimeter landscaping. One of the design features is that the doors to the units will all be faced away from the street frontage of 42nd Street. You can see them in the main building in the middle, but those will be blocked from street view by the other buildings that are pulled up. Next slide. Here's a rendering of what that might look from a street view perspective. We hope you find this to be an attractive type building. Next slide. Here's kind of the site plan indicating the unit. You don't really need to pay too close attention to that, but it kind of matches the perspective renderings that you just viewed. Next slide. Next one, please. Thank you. There is a second variance regarding the 50-foot buffer. As previously mentioned, Mr. Penn owns the multifamily to which the 50-foot buffer benefits. Their MU2 district only requires a 10-foot buffer. This is a special buffer built into the code starting in 2016. Building C is an indoor facility, and that abuts to the west. So you really don't need to mitigate any views from the apartment building located across the street to the west. There is separation because of streets and driveways. So there is approximately 100 feet of separation from the self-storage to the apartment building to the west, and then approximately 87 feet to the north. Next slide, please. This project has been the product of numerous conversations with the city. As mentioned, Mr. Penn has a vested interest in continuing the revitalization of 42nd and Post. In fact, he wants to speak for a moment on his efforts, and the City of Lawrence has set a recommendation of approval. Finally, last slide. Just to summarize, this property recently was obsolete. It was an eyesore. It was not good for the public health and safety. There were efforts to market it for commercial use for 2 years. Self-storage fits on this parcel, will provide a neighborhood service, will provide property tax stream, will not generate a need for the supplying of lots of government services, and it will be secure and operate during hours which are friendly to the neighborhood. And finally, we're pleased to have the City of Lawrence's support. I'll ask Dan to spend a moment or so just describing his interest in 42nd Street and his existing apartments.
Thank you, Joe. Do we still have time for me to speak?
Yeah, go ahead, if you keep it quick.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for taking the time to hear me out on here. as you know, 42nd and Post is a really difficult area. The second day after we purchased Mason Gardens in July of 2017, there was a murder. And, you know, they say things that start off bad, they can only go up. Well, it's gone up slowly, but now we've reached that trajectory that things are going much better for us over there. But I must tell you that it is an absolute collaborative effort with the city. We can't do this on our own, and I don't mean any disrespect, but I don't think the city can do it on its own. The combination of support from the city, council, fire, and police has been extraordinary. And it's allowed us to, reduce the district runs over to Mason Gardens, make life more palatable for the residents in there. People that would come up to you when we put security lighting and cameras in Mason Gardens, they would come out and say, it's the first time I've walked out here, and this was a couple of years ago. So we've done every can, and just more recently at Mason Gardens, we spent over $1 million refacing all of the mansard roofs. We want to do the same over here at 42nd and Post. And quite frankly, and I don't know what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not allowed to say. I'm fighting next door to the east, the boarded up building, hoping that they would do something. I want to take it over, but they're not. I bought 42nd Street Place Apartments first week of June 2018, after fighting for a year to buy it from the owner. This property, when I was doing the inspections over at Mason in the spring of 2017, school bus lets out its kids at mid-afternoon, and they all ran over to these boarded up buildings where God knows what was going on over there. And I swore that I was gonna, thank God we'd be able to fix that. It took a year, we did it. And within 7 months, working with the city, we had it abated and demolished by January of 2019. The problem is that we spent all that time too trying to get some people in there, and that's why we begged for the MU2. And again, the city's been so kind to us in that regard, but we didn't find anybody. So this is where we're proposing right now. Except this time, we have renderings, and we have, a great builder, some Arnie Macy's. The best, he's got an outstanding reputation in self-storage. So we know this is going to be done properly. So anyway, I apologize if I ran over on time.
Thank you, sir. Does the board have any questions for the petitioner?
I have just one comment. Dan, I met you a few times. I'm Tom Crouch. I remember Tom. Chairman of the board of Cafe, the community center. And I appreciate all you've done. When you tore down 42nd Place Studio Apartments, it was such a big step. And as you've noticed, we've now got Oak Tree torn down, not in the city of Lawrence, but we're one big happy family down there, all working together. And I appreciate owners who care about the community and invest and do the right thing. So thank you, and I'm excited for this project.
I remember you, Tom.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
It would be fun to have tonight for all of us, if all of us, especially if we're going to do the
Mayor, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I would be remiss not to kind of add into what Tom Crouch has said. And I've worked with Dan now for, going on 4 years. And Dan's one of those rare people who invest in the city and in the people. And it's important for me to say this because I don't get to say this very often. Dan has not asked for a dime from the city of Lawrence. Other than our cooperative agreement to help him with whatever he can do, Dan hasn't asked for anything. So his integrity, his honesty is the kind of person I want in the city of Lawrence. He's exactly the kind of individual who will make our city better. His willingness to risk and to invest in what's a tough area of our city is something that I have great gratitude for what Dan's doing. You've seen the renderings of what this is going to be. Perfect spot for given all of the available apartments. So I just wanted to say that about Dan.
Thank you, Mayor. we have any council? Maria or Tom want to speak?
Yes, this is Councilor Rusamaroff. I would like to ask if we can increase the amount of landscaping, at least along the northern boundary, to include maybe 2.5 caliber at minimum arborvitae and at 3 to 4 feet height at planting, if possible. I think that would help this project quite a bit if we can do that. I would appreciate it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Any other questions? Are there any remonstrators? City of Lawrence?
Hey, would you read my statement, please?
Absolutely, sir. The petitioner Gated Properties, the Penn family, has been instrumental towards assisting the city with redevelopment initiatives and removal of urban blight. Their millions of dollars of improvements in this area has served to dramatically reduce crime and increase property values. The proposed storage project will only serve to enhance and accelerate the redevelopment of the 42nd and Post neighborhood.
Thank you. And I think that pretty well says it all. The recent investment they continue to make, but specifically the reduction in the amount of crime. And I will tell you that I have another client looking at this area that today I was able to use the improvements that Dan is making as a reason to believe that this area is going to change in the next few years. So he's a big commercial for the city of Lawrence, and we just really appreciate him, and I hope the BZA will approve his petition. Thank you.
Petitioner, you have anything else to add?
I think the only response we owe the board and Councilor Rusamaroff is if the arborvitae plantings on the north end of the property can be made, and I suppose that would be Arnie Macy's call as the developer on that. Arnie, can you put arborvitae along that north line?
Yeah, it's Dan's money. I can do it. Yeah, no, I think we don't have, this is a nice, tidy site. We packed a lot of square footage of storage in there to make the site work. I definitely want, he owns the property to the north, so I think we'll make, we can certainly work and make the landscaping attractive. And I'm very comfortable with that as we put together a landscaping budget, but I'm the developer, I'm not Dan. So, you know, Dan, what do you think?
So, and I apologize. What kind of landscape? The answer is, the short answer is sure. But I'm not sure what kind of landscaping you were asking for.
She was just asking for more attractive, denser landscaping that was been shown on the plan. Is that correct? And we can work with that.
Arborvitae are kind of quick-growing, thinner evergreen types that are used to create kind of a compact screen.
Yeah, I think we're good with that. Without
that's fine. I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Okay. So is the board ready to vote tonight on this petition, 21 LUSV 02 8932 East 42nd Street, or is there any other questions?
I'm ready to vote.
Yes.
Okay. The board will be voting on 21 LUSV-02, variance of use and development standard of table 743-1 to provide for a self-storage facility without the required 50-foot landscaping buffer on the north and west sides of the property. Renee, do we need to put on there about the landscaping?
I think it would be a good idea to go ahead and mention it as a commitment.
And we want to put it on as a commitment to
Yeah, the Arbor Viticus, or I think that's how they said it.
Yeah, on the north side? Okay.
Yes.
Then we're
Okay,
ready
so
for,
we do need a motion and a second to add that commitment, Becky.
okay. Can I have a motion?
So moved. This is Steve.
Second?
I'll second.
Desmond.
Okay.
Renee, you want to take the call?
Yes, so first we're going to vote on the motion, and then we'll vote on the petition. So for the motion to add the Arbor Viticus trees on the north side, Becky Lytle,
Yes.
Tom Crouch,
Yes.
Stephen Hall,
Yes.
Eugene West,
Yes.
Desmond Woods.
Yes.
Okay, so we are going to now vote for the petition with that commitment. Becky Lytle,
Yes.
Tom Crouch,
Yes.
Stephen Hall,
Yes.
Desmond Woods,
Yes.
and Eugene West.
Yes, I voted already, yes.
The second vote
Oh,
was.
second one, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, perfect. So we have a unanimous vote on that petition too.
Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for all your hard work, Dan.
My pleasure.
Renee, is there petitions next month?
No, I do not have anything for next month.
Okay. At this time, the Lawrence Board of Zoning Appeals is adjourned.